and the language is pertaining to the ballots. And the elections department sent out a notice verbatim of the election language that came out from the Secretary of State. I'll read the Secretary of State's email. Says, sign your ballot and write your birth year on the signature envelope. The primary ballot looks different. Here's why. You won't see write-in lines unless there's a filed write-in candidate. Offices will only appear on a primary ballot if the office has at least one filed candidate. If an office has no candidates filed, that office simply will not be printed on the ballots. And so that is exactly what went out with our ballots. I know there were some different colored flyers. I don't know why is that, just because that's the paper you had?
Yeah.
That's what I assumed. There's no indicator of the color at all. Some election departments sent out some variations of that. I've got some examples. Says voter requirement: voters must sign the signature envelope and provide their birth date to primary ballots. Your primary ballot looks different this year, and then the same language beyond that. So we reached out to the Secretary of State. I called him last Monday, talked to him. He was supposed to send me some stuff, and to date, I still haven't heard back from him. They haven't been very available for us. I know the county attorney reached out a couple times and did get a hold of someone and talked to him about it. So this issue here, this is what started the conflict. This is what started the problem. But in my mind, and I don't know, you guys can pipe up if you got different things. This was language that was sent out by the Secretary of State, which should be the leading elections official in the state of Montana. And I can't fault you for that in any way, shape, or form for following what they did. This is ambiguous language. I see some people recognize that and corrected it. But as far as this part of this here, I don't see where an error was made on our part. The biggest deal moving forward is how do we deal with that? How do we deal with the potential of receiving a signed ballot? And there's some questions that I wanted to put out to the commissioners and the public is how we're going to go forward with that, because some things have come up. And so I'm going to give you some time to explain to us the process. And this is process coming again from the Secretary of State. This is their recognized, because we can't be the only ones in the county dealing with this if that memo went out that way. So some other counties, I would imagine the majority of them, are dealing with this exact same issue. So.
Okay, so I also was having a little bit of struggle getting some information back from the election director, Austin. And so I did talk to a couple of other folks at the Secretary of State's office concerning this. And I know this is going to sound shocking, but we are actually the only county having problems. I thought that too.
How can that be if other people sent out the same notice?
I have no idea. And then I called around. I didn't call every county because I don't have time, but I did call 10 counties and they all said, no, we're not having any problems. I said, okay.
That's disheartening.
So, yes. But with speaking to the Secretary of State's office, I did confirm the process that we've already been using. It's been a process for a significant amount of time. I couldn't tell you when it first started, but I know that it's prior to my time they've been doing this. And that is a resolution board. So if we back up a minute, every single election, and I mean every election, including school elections, somebody signs their ballot. It happens every time. This is nothing new to us. So we have a process in place and it's the same process we used. And I wanted to confirm we're not changing anything. There's no other one-offs that would change anything due to this language that went out. And nope, they said, stick to what we've always done. So if somebody were to sign their ballot, which as of now, we've had 2 that were, I signed my actual ballot. I did have another guy, he signed his envelope while he was in the office and it did go off onto his ballot, but that's not really signing your ballot. So we've had 2 that actually did it. The process is, and what I've made announcements of, please come into our office. We will spoil your ballot and issue you a new one. So the two that did that, they came into the office, we spoiled their ballot and issued them a new one. And they went out in the hall and they voted it and dropped it off and it was over and done. And then, if it is on election day, or even when we start preparing the ballots on the 28th, we do have, two teams of resolution board. For resolution board, we have one for the 28th and then we have one on June 2nd. Those judges, it's just a 3-man team, so it's not like everybody's seeing it. Those judges are responsible. One will cross out the name. And then they will transpose the ballot as long as the intent of the vote is clear. They'll transpose it onto a clean ballot. And again, this is something we've done literally every single election. And so at that point, the clean ballot would then be ran through the tabulator. And count just like normal.
Okay.
Yeah.
What happens to that ballot that was marked out and reapplied? I mean, what happens to that physical ballot?
So that ballot goes in the voided ballot pile.
Okay,
We can't get rid of it.
right,
I mean,
right. They have to be
it-
locked up and
yep,
retained,
Exactly.
court order open.
Yep,
Right.
exactly.
Okay. All right. So did you have some questions? I mean, we've got some different language, different statutes that apply to some things. So we wanted to clarify exactly that process. So go ahead.
So, I did a little bit of research, you and I talked about meet, and I did a little bit of research relating to this process, and it looks to me as though it is, 13-15-206 that governs that. Is that your understanding?
Okay. Can you read the title of that one? I can't remember the top of my head. Shit.
Right, like,
13-15-206?
yeah, counting votes, uniformity, rulemaking definitions. It's the title. Yeah,
Most likely.
does talk with, and just talked about if the voting system cannot process the ballot because of the ballot's condition, or if the voting system registers an unmarked ballot or an overvote, which must be considered a questionable vote, the entire ballot must be set aside and votes on the ballot must be counted as provided in subsection 4, which is dealing with the board that you're referring to as a resolution board. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. So there's actually not a provision in that statute for dealing with, it talks about overvotes, it talks about blank ballots, it talks about damaged ballots, but there is not a provision in that statute for ballots that are signed. I guess my first question would be where, if you know, you said this has been the
Thank you.
process for multiple elections. Do you know where that advice originally came from?
No.
But you indicated that you have spoken with the Secretary of State's office and they have confirmed that that is the process that you should use?
Correct.
Okay. So has anybody given you any indication of how that conflicts or how they're justifying that process, given the constitutional and statutory requirement that all votes be by secret ballot, and the fact that there is a specific statute that indicates that if any identifying marks are placed on the absentee ballot by the elector, it must result in the immediate rejection of the ballot without notice to the elector.
Yeah, I couldn't answer that for you. I didn't give you false information. But I was told that the one judge would be responsible for crossing it out, so you couldn't see who it was, and then the rest of the team would transpose the ballot into a fresh ballot. As long as the intent of the vote is clear, they wanted to be very clear on that portion of it.
Okay, well, there's also a specific statute that prohibits election workers from looking at any identifying marks on the ballot. How does that process conform with that prohibition?
I could not tell you. That is how we've been instructed to do it, because we have been through this before. Every single election, somebody writes us a message, signs their initials, signs their name. So most of the time you can't even read it, or they'll put happy faces, smiley faces, stickers. Why they think somebody should or should not be able to be on, I mean, people put a variety of things, a lot of Mickey Mouse.
Right, so the Secretary of State, you're telling us that the Secretary of State is giving you advice that is contrary to what the statutes say you should do with a signed ballot?
Yes. I have been waiting to get that in writing from.
Yeah, we all have. I tried 4 times last week.
I did too. I did. I actually said I would like to have it in writing so we can post it.
Sure. I Google search this thing. I even tried the AI thing, which I'm not a fan of, in a dozen different ways. Accidentally signed, marked, all kinds of things. And there's nothing specific to this. They talk about additional tabs marked and erased and things like that, but the actual signature part of this is just ridiculous.
Honestly, I feel like there's maybe for their next legislation cycle, that would be something that they should address and throw in there. That way it's super crystal clear in that portion of it.
I agree. So I guess, I mean,
I
yep,
would
go
just
ahead.
clarify that there is a specific statute
That talks about
deals with-
signature?
Yeah, it talks about identifying marks on the ballot.
Identifying marks, yeah,
Which
okay.
is, would be a signature, and that statute actually
15, that's
says
the one
that
you got
they-
pulled up there.
I'll pull it up for you.
Yep.
So if the voting system cannot process the ballot because of the ballot's condition, or if the voting system,
Did I give you the wrong?
maybe, yeah, maybe.
Sorry.
Because that one talks about if it can't process it,
Yeah.
because again, and you find a lot of that in there, if there's additional marks in the tab, so.
Had it there and lost track of it.
So it's. I searched it a bunch of different ways trying to find something,
Okay, here it is.
so.
It starts on that page and then it actually continues over onto the next page.
Reconciliation discrepancies, absentee ballot count procedures.
Highlighted.
Yep, a ballot is invalid if problems with the ballot have not been resolved pursuant to 13-13-245, which is the,
Here.
yep, I do, I've got it right here. That one I was able to find. Any identifying marks are placed on the ballot by the elector, which must result in immediate rejection of the ballot without notice to the elector. So, and I don't know, I mean, that to me sounds like if it's signed, it's rejected. So I don't know what the resolution process would be for an assigned ballot. So, and that's where we need clarification from the state, or, I mean, you're our ultimate legal counsel. If that's how you feel it should be resolved, then I would take that as advice as well. So,
Well, unless we hear something different from the Secretary of State that is legally defensible. I would say that would be the way that we handle it. It's the plain language of the statute. It's like, we'd rather
Right.
be on the side of including and not excluding people's votes, but
sure, I agree.
the legislature has told us that's how we're to handle them, and unless I hear something different
yeah.
from the Secretary of State's office, that, I mean, I looked at administrative rules, I've looked at everything, and there is nothing.
Yeah, I know.
And so I would like to hear what their rationale would be for giving that advice, but unless they do, I would say that that should be the way that they should be handled. And again, I will always want to default to including votes versus excluding, but I can't ignore the statute.
So if I might make a comment real quick, when you discussed this procedure last Wednesday in the meeting, exactly the way you talked about here, that was my question, is how it fell within the legal aspects, especially in this. And we've done that for many years or before you were here, obviously? Okay. And I guess identifying of what a signature is, I mean, there's doctors that sign signatures, you can't read them.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, is that an identifying signature?
If
If
that's
they,
consistent with the signature that he
Right,
signs, then
right.
yes, that's attached to that.
and so,
So,
And I think if it's intended to be.
right.
and, or if it's a personal message from somebody, that would be an identifying thing. So,
Well, and again, we have been telling
Right.
everybody, like, if you've done it, let us know,
Right.
so we can resolve it. We've had two and we resolved it.
Right, and I'll be clear, there is, I mean, that mechanism
yes, sir.
up to election day is
Right.
absolutely valid.
Yep.
If folks know and they bring their ballot in to be spoiled and get a new one issued,
Exactly.
that's great. It's the resolution during the counting on election day that's the problem
Right.
Correct.
that I.
Yeah,
That's,
it's true. And that's what I found in the statutes as well. So. Well, again, I'm definitely disheartened with Secretary of State. I mean, they haven't been very open and receptive to any of our requests. Again, I called them a couple of times, was on hold for 20 minutes each time before I went out of service. So I don't know what to do with these guys, but if you can check with them, or you've had a little better luck, find out how this statute sits with this as a resolved, and if this is what they want on election day, then this is what we'll conform to. If they still want to go with, and that is their advice, the election resolution committee, then that's in place. So I don't know what to say there as far as absolute right now. Again, not hearing from those guys. So, all right.
I called literally every single day of this.
I know.
and you contacted what, 10 counties, you said? Local ones or ones you're friendly with? Okay.
So let me ask this question. Was it the situation with the 10 counties that you contacted that none of them used that language that was provided by the Secretary of State? Or was it that they had used it and there wasn't, they didn't recognize that there was any issue?
The only county that I'm aware of that altered the language was Flathead. The other counties said they all.
But I don't know what
I don't know.
what
I only
county
know
they're
of
from either. So yeah, right. Yeah, I know I got one of them from Flathead. So. All right. Anything else? So we will, well, either one of you will delve into this.
I want to know that process can't be used on election day with identifying marks,
Well,
correct? Unless we hear something
that's
else.
what the statute says, and I'd like to hear from them and hear what
Yep.
their response is to that, because I researched it all week long and there's nothing out there except this very specific statute that says it must be rejected with no
Right.
notice to the elector. And,
Sure.
and as much as I don't like that, I don't believe that we have
No, I
a
agree.
choice under the Constitution, under the statutes,
Yep.
secret ballot.
Right.
Unless they give us other direction. They just wanted to make sure that was our process.
Well, they may not necessarily agree with that other direction I mean, they need to be able to legally
Stand by
defend
it.
it.
Right. Exactly.
So the resolution board would, if there's a identifying mark that identifies that person, reject that ballot.
On election day.
Unless we hear differently
Right.
and
So,
agree that it should be.
So then the process you had planned to use isn't going to work.
well, depends if we haven't heard back yet.
But still, resolution board still goes through the process of their ballots. And again, I've had two and we resolved them. So hopefully we've had enough stuff in the papers and online and stuff that that nobody else will be doing that moving forward.
Okay. All right. Anything else? All right. So this is kind of a contentious situation. There's a lot of questions. Even though we're not taking action, I still would like to open the floor for public comment. Who has public comment? Oh, you got beat. Ladies first. All right. Thank you.
Dog in the fight.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, man. I'm Stuart Chrismore. I'm one County Commissioner. I do have a bit of a dog in this fight. I agree that we need to make every move possible to not disenfranchise one single. Because, it's been contentious out there in some of the campaigns and some of those. So it's just gonna expand that if we can figure this out. My question would be to you, Mark, is there any way like to get an AG action on this that says what Melanie has been doing, that she could do that on election day?
Okay, there maybe I can explore that, but I would expect that legal counsel for the Secretary of State would actually be the ones most conversant with those laws and those statutes. If they have something that they can give me that is compliant with what the statutes say, then
Right.
I'm happy to go with that. I can certainly reach out to the AG's office and see if that's an option.
Yeah. And then if we have to go down this path where they're rejected completely, is there a way to document that number?
Not according to statute. Statute says rejected ballots have to be placed in a lockbox, locked, and can't be opened without a court order.
Well,
Right.
actually, we do document like reasons. So like if, for example, if we
If
have,
it was signed.
20 people that, maybe they didn't put their year of birth on it, we have to keep track of like how many for each.
Statistic.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'd have that.
So,
If looking at down the road, if we came to a very, very tight election and,
right.
a few votes were making the difference, I guess I'm looking at, would we need to then, heaven forbid, have a special election if that margin is
Sure.
tight and we have 40 ballots out there and it's less than that, do we have to act on it?
So where does that statistic sheet go then that says, 20 ballots were signed, 20 ballots were marked, 20 ballots had happy faces, whatever. I mean, however you log that, where does that sheet go? And how is that?
I actually
Accessible.
put it to you guys on during the canvas.
So it comes through in the canvas with the discrepancies in them. Okay, good. All right.
And there is a legal remedy if there's certainly anybody could file an action in district court.
Yep.
The court would have to determine that whatever the issue was actually made a difference in the outcome. And then, so yeah, there's a process.
Okay. Thank
And
you.
also if it's in 1/4, 1/2 of 1%, we can recount the ones we have just to confirm.
Well, I realize that again, it's just.
Yeah. No, I get it.
You time this in, we've got a week to go and I'd like to be it done in a week and not have to go further. So thank you.
All right. Ma'am?
My name is Ann German. I'm a registered voter in the county. I have two things that I would like to make note of. And the first one, Commissioner Teske, you read from something that you got from somebody that had apparently been sent out by the Secretary of State. And I would like, is that the complete email that was sent out or just a portion?
This is the portion that I got, the language from.
You haven't
So-
seen the actual email that was sent out?
Still haven't received it from the Secretary of State, and I requested it about this time last Monday. Commissioner Hams and I called, talked to Ray, whoever Ray is there, and he said he would check with legal, and if it was clear to send it out, and I've never heard a word back. So,
So my understanding is that Melanie got this email from the Secretary of State and she relied on that, sending out that notice. Why can't Melanie just forward you the email she got from the Secretary of State?
she probably could, but I wanted it directly from the Secretary of State, so I could use that as the cover template to what everybody got.
Right,
So,
but if you're
but she couldn't,
reading
so.
here, making a decision or doing whatever you're doing on what Melanie tells you she got, what was sent is irrelevant. What she got is relevant.
Right.
Because that's what she relied on. So I would ask her to forward that to you, and I would like that put in the record so that we have that.
Sure.
The entire email, because my understanding, this came up on the 17th when somebody called me and told me about it in the evening. And I contacted some people on Friday and, or not the 17th, whatever that.
15,
I think it
yeah.
was. somebody got back to me and said that Melanie had explained that there were several options in the email, and the one she chose is the one that went out here. When I talked to the Flathead County Administrator, she told me, because she did not use that language, that that was not the only option that was provided. So I would like to see the one that Melanie got. I really don't care which one was sent. See what I'm saying? And the other thing is, it wasn't just Flathead. Paula told me that Lake did it as well.
Yeah.
So there's more than one.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. The other thing I want to know is if I misheard, unless I misheard, I thought that Marcia's quote of that statute said that the signed ballot with the ballot with the identifying information must be rejected immediately without notice to the elector. So why are we contacting the electors, asking them to come in and fix it before the day of election?
Because the statute reads that they can do it up until election day at, I don't know what time it was. 8 PM, okay. So if they find that there's a,
They can give notice to the elector up until election day.
Right.
But we're not seeing their ballot already. We're not seeing that they signed. So if they've signed it, they need to reach out to us for us a new.
So-
I thought you said, I read something that you were gonna start looking at the ballots on the 28th.
No, that is, we're more than 8,000 registered voters, and so we can start the preparation of absentee ballots for counting on the 28th.
Is that you're removing them from the secrecy envelope?
Yes.
Okay, so you're gonna know on the 28th that people are signing it.
Well, we might not actually be to that point yet, just to be honest with you, but I mean, we've reached out and we've asked everybody to contact us if they've done it. We've had 2.
here's the statute that I'm referencing, if you want to write it down.
Is it?
13-245.
You know, and I don't wanna be beating a dead horse here, but as I said to you last week, there's a problem with this. It's gonna be a big deal, because if somebody does not prevail, they have a legitimate complaint they can make about the fact that the electors were misled by the election administrator. So I really hope you people don't just pawn this off as, well, this is the way we've always done things, or gee, let's just kind of go with our hunches, or wouldn't it be great to count everybody's ballot? This is gonna be a big problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Yes, sir.
My name's Tony Wickham, a registered voter in. This particular article, on Friday, Western News, which got into length about the issue, the contention, the potential confusion. So I went back to, this actually was the one my wife received. That this was the verbiage in question. And also in that envelope is this description of the process.
Mhm.
Now this, I scanned briefly, but I looked at this and the picture of vote your ballot, prepare your ballot for return, and return your ballot is crystal clear. I mean, this is as clear as you can get. I'd even suggest that maybe in the election office and other places, we put a poster up.
Sure.
Right? Because, and I think history has shown that you can't control what people actually do, but you can at least work on making sure they're informed on what to do, what the right way is. This is as clear as it gets.
I agree.
So, I'll quote the senator of Louisiana, he said, life's hard. Life's even harder when you're stupid. And this is clear.
Yep.
So we have statutes that are governing kind of our process, decisions, actions accordingly, and we should follow that to the letter. And I think our elections are sound. People are choosing to do things either because they haven't informed themselves or they've trying to pass on a comment, but they'll realize that it's a influence. And probably need to just continue the ongoing process of informing and educating. So, I don't think we'll ever eliminate this as an issue. But over time, we should be able to drive down non-compliance, right? And I would bet that other counties have this issue. People signing a ballot or maybe other marks to vote ballot. I mean, it makes sense to me. Human nature is not going to be very different. So we have that challenge in front of us. So let's just make sure that we're working to manage the information over time. I think this little pamphlet that you sent out makes it crystal clear.
Sure. And had that insert not been included, we wouldn't be here. And had that insert not been instructed to the election county administrators, as you prepare and send out your ballots for upcoming primary, we want to recommend adding an insert to your ballots to remind folks about including the birth year on the signature envelope and information about the new ballot layout. So.
Well, I thought it was great instruction. I had it figured out in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So it's not a big deal from that standpoint, but I do realize that some people are acting, not realizing that in so doing, it's invalidating their ballot, that isn't covered in any way, shape, or form. That's probably the key message that needs to go out to people. Make sure that don't mark your ballot with errant marks, just mark who you're voting for.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
I'm Jane Moss. I'm a registered voter. I would like to know why that insert was included. It was a suggestion to include that little strip of paper that said that. It was just a suggestion, or she said include this other option. Why was it even inserted with the mail-in ballots?
So the email that came to the county electors from the Secretary of State's office said, as you prepare to send out ballots for the upcoming primary, we want to recommend, so it is a recommendation, and not all counties did it, adding an insert to your ballots to remind folks, including the birth year on the signature envelope and information about the new ballot. And then the language that they ask them to put on brightly colored paper is included with it.
Okay, but it only said to remind people to put the birth date on the outside of the envelope. It didn't
Right.
say anything about.
But it does in the language. I don't know if you can read that, but in the language itself, it says, and this is what they recommend they put on the brightly colored paper. It says, sign your ballot and write your birth year on the signature envelope, which is exactly, what's that?
Was that the only option?
That's the option that I received in this email. Apparently there might be some other ones that I haven't seen
I
yet.
haven't seen
So
it.
exactly. So we'll delve into that, but I don't know if that's the truth or not. I can't imagine them giving out, a number of options to all of the county election administrators.
It was just
So
recommended.
that's what it says. Recommended adding an insert to your ballots. Yes.
So I don't understand why, yes, it goes back to the Secretary of State, why she would even suggest that wording. It was her problem. And in essence,
I agree.
your decision to follow that recommendation. So, if somehow, and you followed her exact wording in that little flyer.
Correct.
So why include that flyer anyway, when it's perfectly clear in the instructions what to do? And then when you look at the outside envelope, it says where you sign it and then your birth year, it's all right there. I don't know why you followed that recommendation.
Well, mostly because there was so many new election laws and the ballots do look different. So the intent was to make sure that everybody understood that the ballots look different, but also the head election official in the state. I'm gonna trust that they want this out, we're gonna send it out.
And that made sense to you to follow the recommendation rather than just.
To me, I read it as sign your thing. I did not mean,
Sign your envelope.
yeah.
And
Generally it is. I mean, when you get a recommendation from the head election official in the state, generally speaking, that is, something that they're feeling obligated to comply to. So, because you feel that is coming with the security and the knowledge that, This person knows better.
So
So,
these,
but
so then these envelopes are not opened in any way until they begin to be counting them on the 28th.
Well, we're not counting on the 20th. I need to make that
When
very
you,
clear.
but you open the envelope?
We can, yes, we can. We start to prepare the ballots. I don't know at what point we will be. We won't start counting until the.
Okay, but at any rate, it is before election day that you will start opening the mail-in ballot.
Yes,
Looking at them.
yes, we have a whole process of separating affidavits, secrecies.
That's when we get into whether, when you see that the ballot itself has a name on it, you can't call them and say, that's according to
The statute says reject without notice to the elector.
Right.
If the elector brings their ballot in and says, I signed it, I need to spoil this ballot and have a new one issued, then they can do that. But based upon what the statute says, they are to reject it without notice.
that's what we're trying to get to the bottom of in
Yep.
this process right now is their guidance. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, well, we'll continue to move forward and let you know what we find out. So that being said, we will recess until 10:15 and come back with the superintendent of schools budget meeting. Hope y'all stick around.